Hey guys, today's lesson is Chapter 7, Lesson 7, the Distributive Property. Our objective is 6.7d. I can explain these terms in my own words. Distributive property, factor the expression, and greatest common factor. Okay, and greatest common factor, what does that mean? Well, the greatest common factor that two numbers have in common. Okay, what is the distributive property? The distributive property means that to multiply a sum by a number, we're going to multiply each addend by the number outside the parentheses. It's basically a fancy way of saying we're combining multiplication and addition. All right, so we're going to start with an expression, 12 plus 8. And we are going to generate an equivalent expression using the greatest common factor of these two numbers. But in order to do that, we first need to find the greatest common factor. Okay, so we're going to use prime factorization. We're going to factor 12. I know 2 times 6 will give me 12. 2 is prime. 6 is composite. So we need to break down 6. 2 times 3 gives me 6. Bring down my 2. Okay, so I know 2 times 2 gives me 4 times 3, which gives me 12. Okay, so that's what we're looking for to go back to our original number. Okay, now we're going to also factor 8. Okay, 2 times 4 gives me 8. 2 is prime, 4 is composite. 2 times 2 gives me 4. Bring down my other 2. Okay, well, we have two different strategies that we can use to find the greatest common factor. One is the check strategy, meaning I'm going to place a check mark under each number, under the greatest number they have in common. Okay, so here they have the number 2. Well, here's a 2 and here's a 2. And then they both have a second 2 under each. Okay, so that means that my greatest common factor is going to be 2 times 2. Because I have 2 times 2 here and I have 2 times 2 here. We know 2 times 2 gives us 4. Okay, so that's one strategy. We could also use a circle strategy. So if we go over here, we know that if we write our prime factorization of 12, we have 2 times 2 times 3. And then with 8, we have 2 times 2 times 2. And now we're going to circle what they have in common. Okay. So I have 2 times 2 in each, which would still give us 4. Okay, so now we're going to rewrite our prime factorization using our greatest common factor. So our original expression is 12 plus 8, which we can break down using our greatest common factor of 4 with our 2 times 2 times what's left over, we had 3, plus 4, and then what was left over, that would be 2. Okay, so all we did just now is we rewrote our expression using the greatest common factor, and then we just took what was left over, which is a 3 and a 2. Okay, well, how can we write this using our distributive property? Well, what number do they have in common? They have the number 4. That's our greatest common factor. But then we need to show that we're also multiplying by 3 plus our factor of 2. Okay, and this is where our distributive property comes in. We're combining the multiplication and addition. Okay, So really, if I go back and distribute my greatest common factor to my different numbers, okay, well, if I multiply 4 times 3, that gives me 12, and then 4 times 2 gives me 8. Okay, same expression, we just broke it down. Okay, now, in your journal, go ahead and turn to the next page. I know that was a lot. I'm going to give you an example. (3x plus 15). Okay. Now what I want you to do is I want you to factor each term. Okay, to find the greatest common factor. Okay, so to get you started, first term is 3x, second term is 15. Okay, we don't know what x is, so this is going to be 3 times x. Okay, then you guys can start with the prime factorization of 15 and see if you can find the greatest common factor. Okay, do this with your partner, and then you're going to check your work with the video.